You are in a desert, walking along in the sand when...
Is this the test now?
Yes. You are in the desert, walking along in the sand when all of a sudden you look down...
What one?
What?
What desert?
Doesn't make any difference what desert. It's completely hypothetical.
But how come I would be there?
Or maybe you're fed up, maybe you want to be by yourself, who knows? So you look down and see a tortoise. It's crawling toward you.
A tortoise? What's that?
Know what a turtle is.
Oh, of course.
Same thing.
I never seen a turtle. But I understand what you mean.
You reach down and flip the tortoise over on its back, Joseph.
You make up these questions, Mrs. Ironbelly, or do they write them down for you?
The tortoise lays on its back, its belly baking in the hot sun, beating its legs, trying to turn itself over, but it can't. Not without your help. But you are not helping.
What do you mean I'm not helping?
I mean you are not helping. Why is that, Joseph? They're just questions, Joseph. In answer to your query, they are written down for me. It's a test designed to provoke an emotional response. Shall we continue? Describe any single words. Only the good things that come to your mind about your mother.
Well, she's supportive, helpful. Wait a goddamn minute. You are my mother.
And maybe eat some steak with my beans and rice. A place where my kids can play outside without living in fear of a drive-by. And even if I get away from them drive-by killers, I still got to worry about those snitches.
Hello everyone, welcome to Wild Funktasy, the only podcast where androids dream of electric sheep. Today we're doing something different. As always with you I am your host, Joseph Stallion, but today Sarah is not here. Because he is really busy with his university stuff. But I really wanted to make a Blade Runner episode while it's relevant. And so I got, for the first time ever in the history of this podcast, a guest who is, as you already know, my mom. And if I'm Joseph Stalin, then I guess you'd be...
Ukrainian Iron Belly.
Ukrainian Iron Belly. Yeah, today we're talking about one thing only, Blade Runner. The original, maybe the book it was based on, and the sequel which we both recently saw. So that's our introductions. Before we start, I would like to just ask you a few questions to give everybody a better idea about who you are, Mom. So tell me about yourself. What you do, what do you want to people to know about you?
Well, I'm a writer of rather improbable stories, science fiction and fantasy and so on, and some lousy Ukrainian TV series which you are not interested in anyway. But I know a thing or two about writing for cinema and TV.
You've listened to our podcast before, right?
Yes.
Do you like it? I just want to say, depending on your answer, I will cut out parts of you talking from the final episode.
Well, it's better anyway than you boys go thieving. So okay.
I like this is encouraging, okay?
This will be cut out, yes?
No.
No? Okay.
That's the rule of the show, where it's like a one-take thing. We're not cutting anything out.
Oh, I'll be damned.
Okay, so did you read the book that the Blade Runner was based on, which is called Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick?
You know, in those times of our youth, we were rather readers than watchers. Besides, it was not Soviet Union already, but still films were hard to find, and video players were really hard to buy. They were like spaceships for us. So of course I've read the fucking book.
Well, I read the fucking books!
Did you like the book? What are your opinions on the book?
Oh, it was weird. It was my first acquaintance with Philip Dick, so I found it weird, and it touched me because it was different from anything I've read before, from poor translations of English science fiction and good translations of Japanese science fiction and moderate original Soviet science fiction. Some of them were good, some of them were bad, but no one wrote like Philip Dick. No one.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does to this day. He's a funky fella, that Philip Dick.
Well, some people are writing in his line, like Peter Watts or Scott Becker. It's very sophisticated, a bit weird, and very thought through.
Just to answer like my own questions, I also read the book. It was kind of like after the movie, so I kind of was like in a Blade Runner fan base, I guess. Like I just wanted to know it all, and I liked it at the time quite a lot. Now I actually think, in retrospect, that I love it. It's probably one of my favorite books ever, because yeah, it is weird and unique and stuff. Okay, we'll come back to that maybe later when we talk about the actual movie. And final question is Deckard a replicant? And just what do you think in general about this question? About this theory, fan theory.
I think that if Deckard is a replicant, it makes less sense. Because, well, there are some plot points. If he's a replicant, how he came to become a policeman? How he got his memories, how he got his documents, right? Did no one questioned him? Did no one tested him before? It makes a huge plot hole, that fan theory that he's a replicant, and nothing to fill that plot hole. Well, and if he's a human, it adds an additional points for... Well, if he's human, and he takes Rachel's side to run away with her, to save her from the system, that gives him points for our humanity.
Kinda.
Yes.
In a way.
And if he is a replicant, he just don't have another option. The only option is to resist and fight.
Yeah.
Or to run away. There is no option to step aside. If he's human, he could step aside. He could just step aside and let Rachel die. And continue hunting replicants. But he rejected it.
To answer kind of like your confusion, I think nobody who supports the theory that he is a replicant ever really elaborated on how it works, but I am assuming that the way it works is that he is built specifically for this job that we see in the movie, to hunt down only those 4 replicants. Like he
Oh, it's like great conspiracy theory where his superiors know.
I mean, that's the thing. Like the biggest part of how he finds out, he sees a unicorn, and he sees he sees a unicorn. He sees an origami unicorn, and the main like argument there is that Gaff, who leaves these origamis behind, he knows what his dreams because he knows his memories, just like Deckard early in the movie knows the memories of Rachel.
It's the future, man. Everyone can produce and trade memories in the future.
Yeah, but you like can't implant. I'm assuming in this universe you can't implant them in a normal person. You can do it only in a replicant.
Why?
And I was really racist there by calling replicants
brain-
not normal.
If they can be detected only by the taste, that means their bodies and their minds are not so different from ours.
Yeah, I'm just saying in the fiction of this universe,
Yes.
that's how like the replicant theory works. I'm not saying it makes sense. I'm trying to like justify it to a point where it makes enough sense.
And maybe Gaff is just a fan of My Little Pony.
That would be fucking awesome. I would watch that. I want a Gaff spin-off movie where he just sits there and plays with My Little Pony.
Or maybe he's like Deadpool, a fan of unicorns.
No.
No?
That's weird.
Weird.
I wish I knew what My Little Pony is, so I could like say which one is the Gaff's favorite. But I don't know, so like please write down in the comments. Yeah. I also think this theory makes zero sense. I'm kind of like upset. I was kind of like saying that it doesn't make sense for a long time, but the more I discover, the more I think that like, well, before that I tried to think that Ridley Scott is just old and crazy, and he just made it up recently just to like, I don't know, make his movie more complex in a superficial way. But from what all I can read, it seems like Ridley Scott had this idea from the beginning, and he just doesn't understand his own goddamn movies. I will return to that topic later. But yeah, Deckard. We are both agree that Deckard is not a replicant. Yeah,
He's rather not.
he's rather not. Okay, yeah, and that brings us to finally talking about the movies proper. First up, we have Blade Runner, the original from 1982. Okay, so I'm assuming we will both discuss the final cut, because that's the best cut of the movie.
Maybe, because still I don't really remember that 1992 version.
82.
82 version. No. There will be more late version because we had no possibility to watch the original version. We watched this in 90s, in late 90s.
Yeah, and I'm like wondering which version did you get? Do you remember if you had the awful voiceover?
No, I don't remember anything like that.
Okay, so maybe it wasn't maybe a theatrical cut, because in the theatrical cut they added like an Irish voiceover by Harrison Ford that explained some plot points, and he hated the idea so much that when he recorded, he tried to record his lines as awful as possible to make them not use it, but they did.
It didn't help.
Yeah, like it ruins. I'm okay. First of all, I'm assuming everyone who listens to this watched the original Blade Runner, so we will talk about all the. We will not avoid any spoilers here.
Is there a version like Star Wars Unexpanded Edition?
No, like all like changed editions, they add things that were already shot, but nothing was like added after the fact. Like nothing was additionally shot for, unlike Star Wars. So like everything that is in the new version is just re-edited stuff that already was there.
Okay.
In most cases,
Okay.
aside from the theatrical cut, but again because so just it adds a happy ending to the story. Like
I saw the version where they both ride the car in some green planes. Which version it is?
Yeah, that's the theatrical cut.
Theatrical cut. I saw the theatrical cut in late 90s.
Okay. Yeah, like they shot some scenes with them riding in the car, but most of the scenery, like there, that's unused footage from The Shining. Yeah, Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. They like actually like, called him up and were like, "Hey, can we like use your footage from The Shining?" And he was like, "Yeah." That's totally how Stanley Kubrick sounds, by the way. Yeah, go ahead, whatever.
It's just
Forget about it.
Some second-hand footage he used.
Unused footage for The Shining. Like there was lots of like landscape shots at the beginning of The Shining, and they just didn't use them because, well,
Still second-hand.
Kinda. Yeah. Okay.
No, nothing bad in using second-hand. Right now, it's second-hand jeans on me, and second-hand.
Are replicants second-hand
Sweet.
humans?
No.
Okay.
Replicants are better. Replicants are enhanced edition.
Okay. Yeah, but I want to say, like, theatrical cut added this voiceover, and the worst part of it is how it ruins the ending with Roy. Because when he finishes his epic, famous monologue, Tears in the Rain, and dies, we have this close-up of Harrison Ford's face. And when, in this perfect moment where like music plays and you're supposed to just take in the emotions, suddenly you hear him go,
I don't know why he saved my life. Maybe in those last moments he loved life more than he ever had before. Not just his life. Anybody's life. My life. All he'd wanted were the same answers the rest of us want. Where do I come from? Where am I going? How long have I got? All I could do was sit there and watch him die.
else.
You know,
Like,
I rather.
let me explain the movie for you, dear viewer.
So I'm rather glad that.
You don't remember that?
That today, yes, I don't remember that, and that today they ruined my rewatch of the movie because I wouldn't want to hear it.
Ironically, that's the first version I watched when I liked the movie. Like, I first watched the final cut.
It's like the first love, you know.
It's like I was dumber, so I needed Harrison Ford to explain the movie for me in the end. But then I kind of like took in, Blade Runner. Like, what do you think about it? What do you, about the movie in general, the original? Do you like it? Do you hate it?
See, you want to hear about the first impression?
I want to hear about the final impression, like right now.
They ruined my rewatch. Okay, it's stylish. What I remember, it's unbelievably stylish.
Yeah.
And yes, the recent impression. Lame Japanese. Very lame hieroglyphs. I'm a Japanese language and literature
Expert?
magister. No, just a
not
magister.
Okay.
And I can see when.
You have a master's degree in it, yeah?
Yes, I have a master's degree.
Okay, yeah.
A master's degree. So when I see handwriting of someone who doesn't know what hieroglyph is but tries to copy an hieroglyph, which he sees, which they see, I know it. It is seen from the very beginning because they don't know an order of strokes to write the hieroglyph property, and it is seen in the film, and I'm like, oh my god, guys, you live in Los Angeles, you couldn't just hire some Japanese for one day to check your hieroglyphs and teach you how to write them properly. Lame Japanese always makes me like, oh.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of like if you like hear somebody talk really badly your language, yeah. Oh, I need to come back to it later, but that's especially strange considering that.
That makes me like my English makes you feel well. And his.
Oh.
That was mean.
Oh.
Yes, I know that was mean. Okay.
I need to add sad peanuts music there.
It's European English, continental English.
Okay, it's especially strange considering that the large reason why there is so much Asian influence is that one of the movie's biggest investors was one of the Shaw brothers. If you don't know, Shaw Brothers are like used to be like one of the biggest movie studios, movie companies in China. Like they made all sorts of like epic war fantasy movies. And they're like one of them, like I don't remember who, so I'm sorry, I had to fact check that. One of them invested a lot of money in Blade Runner, so that's like kind of like what we have today, where movies clearly try to pander to Chinese audiences to make a buck there.
And
it's kind of like That, but in 1982, where
And he couldn't invest $100 or so in daily
I
concert.
mean, I'm assuming that he just gave money. He didn't know like what's going to happen on the set.
That was sad. That was sad. When you see a perfection and this perfection is spoiled by some clumsiness, it gives you
Sad,
just like my English.
sad feels.
Yes, sad feelings.
It's an uncanny valley.
It's an uncanny valley. Yes. It's my hieroglyphic uncanny valley.
And I want to come back to the subject of language because there is a funny story. James Edwards Olmos, who
Yes.
plays Gaff, one of the movie's main characters.
Commander Adama.
Yeah, Commander Adama, the not real Shield director.
Yes. Fake shield director.
Yeah, so like he plays Gaff, and Gaff is like multinational, multi-ethnic character. So to like play him, he went to language school in Los Angeles and like learned a bunch of like words from different languages and combined them like in his own language on set for like just a couple lines. And every time somebody watches this movie in Hungary, they laugh because at the very start when he comes up to Deckard, the first thing he says is Hungarian. Horse dick, I say.
He calls Deckard.
Horse dick.
Yes. He could have called him that. No?
Yeah, but like he probably doesn't say that. He probably tries to say something different.
Dr. Horsedick, I presume. Officer Horsedick. Okay.
So yeah, like you said, it's stylish. It's visually perfect, right?
It's visual porn.
Yeah, visual porn.
Scenery porn.
Ridley Scott used to be good at this one. Like Alien, this, Blade Runner, Legend, like those are stunning looking movies.
Legend.
Tom Cruise.
Isn't Unicorn an outtake from Legend?
I always thought that, and I don't remember like they say something like this in a documentary. Like I watched a 4-hour documentary on Blade Runner, guys. That's how much I love Blade Runner. And I think they some confirm it, but it's like I should look it up. I think it is. I think it's an outtake from Legend because like while they were editing Blade Runner, Legend was in production already, so they shot some footage for it. And then Ridley Scott was like, "Hey, a unicorn."
Yeah, a unicorn.
That's kind of funny because there is a character in Dice Funk who constantly says, "I am a unicorn." So I hope somebody will kick her out of that. Yeah, my opinions. I really loved Blade Runner, but I think it's not perfect. Like it has problems. It's one of my favorite movies. Like
I was very young when I first saw it. I was very young. I was like 17, and it was of course a pirate version with poorest Russian translation. Poorest like.
Well, it helps that there is really, really little dialogue.
Yes, and I couldn't see those problems because I had nothing to compare it with.
Yeah.
Because Soviet films with their poor special effects were nothing like that. And this film, I couldn't hardly trace plot.
Yeah.
And I was rather disappointed with
how they adapted it.
Yes, with how they adapted Philip, because they missed Descartes' wife, and all the religion of compassion.
I mean, they don't hide the fact that it's just like in name, almost in name only. Like that's why they changed even the name. Like they're not trying to pretend like it's an adaptation of that.
And I remembered, of course, Patty and his monologue. It was very, it hit me straight in the heart. I remembered that acrobatic girl. Yes. I remembered Snake Girl, but I couldn't even remember the names because they were like some picture I couldn't understand what the hell happens most of the time, and that spoiled my impression. And mostly my impression is like visual perfection of the film, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like funny how the movie was badly received by critics and audiences when it came out originally. That's kind of like mirrors my personal experience with it. First time I saw it, I hated it, and then I kind of like gave it another chance, and I started to like it. And every time like I rewatched it, I liked it a little more
It's like beer.
until I loved it. No, because I tried beer once and I hate it still.
No, you didn't give beer a second chance. A third.
No, I did. I had 3
okay.
years in Poland now.
Okay.
And beer is like a Michael Bay movie. It sucks the first time, and it sucks even harder once you really think about it.
Get out of my office.
Hear that, alcoholics? I'm judging you.
Okay, let's proceed.
Yeah, so I kind of like owe a lot to this movie. It inspired me to write the only 2 screenplays I finished in my life, both of which I don't really like now. First one was terrible, you read it.
It's like we used to say the first pancake is always a mess.
Mm-hmm. It would be good if this was a mash, but I'm not as good as Robert Altman to make my first pancake a mash. That joke will probably... Okay, Blade Runner. I watched it recently, like just before going to see the second one with my friend, and I still like it, but I was the most critical probably this time. Like, I love it. It's a really good movie, but it's its own thing. Like, it's slow, it's atmospheric, and it's kind of like all about this world and atmosphere. Like, it's like having a dream, a really weird, bizarre dream. And just like in a dream, the plot doesn't always make a lot of sense. Like, it's a simple story, but it's lacking. It's not just simple, like, it's actively lacking in key elements of what makes a story compelling. Like, nobody's really relatable in it, and aside from Roy, but we don't see that much of him. Like, we follow Deckard around for the whole movie, but he's just some dude who's always drinking and sad.
He's a typical noir detective.
He's almost like a cliche of a noir detective. Like, he doesn't have any depth to him. Like,
Yes.
we don't know his backstory, which maybe is intentional because maybe he's a replicant. Everyone is supposed to not know about his backstory, but it makes it hard to relate to him. Me and my friend, like, we were like watching it not seriously, so like we were cracking jokes all the time. So the best one was like when he goes to investigate, like to find Zora. Like, he has just one clue. He has this small shell, and he goes to like the shop and like asks them if it's a fish, and they're like study it like under the microscope, and they're like, not a fish, snake.
Scale, not shell, scale.
Oh yeah, scale was like, it's a snake, and we were like instantly, snake. I hate snakes.
Say.
I honestly don't have much else to say. Like, I love it. I love it too much. Maybe I watched the 4-hour documentary about it. Like I said, I read the book, which I like slightly more in terms of plot. Like, I think like your disappointment with how it adapted doesn't come much from like the book itself, but like from the fact that they dropped a lot of interesting nuance about the whole thing.
Yes.
Like in the book, for example, like androids, one of the things they like distinguishes them, they don't have empathy.
Yes.
At least they don't have empathy for the right things. And they never explain it in the movie, but a Voight-Kampff test that determines if you are a replicant or not is an empathy test. And they never explain it, which is kind of interesting, like how the movie works. It doesn't explain much about itself. But it's a nuance that kind of would be nice to have there, because it provides you context about how replicants work. because they don't have empathy, and that's how you find them.
Yes, and then in the climax, Roy Batty catches
Yeah,
Deckard.
he has
and,
an arc.
Yes, helps him out. And before that, he wants to leave. He feels fear of death. And actually, it leaves us with an open question. Are they really so different from us? Because I knew, no, I thought, what would the test show on a human sociopath?
I mean, you kind of know in the book the answer, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem with the test. Like, it doesn't, like... if you, like, catch someone who is just not terribly smart or... like, not... has some mental disabilities, the test will determine them, show them to be a robot when they're not.
Yes, that is the point. And the funny thing is, they think androids are dangerous because they have no emotion, empathy, just like sociopaths. Sociopaths are dangerous because they have no empathy, but still humans destroyed all the world and still think they're okay with empathy and produce those weird religion to
The mercerism.
the mercerism. I never read this book in original in English, so it was only lousy Russian translations.
Okay.
Mercerism. Now I know how it sounds.
Yeah, it's because the guy, the deity figure is William Mercer, I think.
Mercer, and it's a pun. Mercer.
Yeah.
Mercer. Yes.
No.
And they get themselves into virtual reality, into machines, to feel the compassion,
To
the
feel
mercy.
compassion, yeah.
But hey, they have only to look around to feel it towards poor or remained species,
Mm-hmm.
or destroyed species, or androids, for the fuck's sake. And they don't.
I mean, I'm assuming kind of like the movie is sympathetic to androids, but the book is more complicated. And
Book is more complicated. They are real cruel, really cruel. There is a scene when one of them girls, androids, kills a spider
yeah,
just for nothing.
not just kills, she cuts off his limbs to
Yes.
see how many he'll need to move.
Yes, but human children do that.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the paradox of androids that I wish the movies kept. That androids are kind of like children in that way. Like, they have no empathy, but it's not them being cruel, it's just them not understanding. So they're like, in that way...
It's just them being not educated, rather. Not
kind of
grown
yeah,
up.
like, so it's kind of like, yeah, you kind of view them as children. It's children's paradox. Like, they are cruel, but you still kind of feel bad for them in a way, but you are scared at the same time.
Yes, and they live only for years, which never gives them a chance to
Do they
grow
do
up.
that in the book, though?
I don't remember.
I think not. That's the thing. That's why they have exterminated.
Oh, that would be an extreme waste. Because they are expensive, they are artificially produced, and they are born to heavy and dirty work in colonies, because in the earth there is not much for them to do.
It's not about as much about making sense as it is about thematic purpose. Blade Runner the movie is mostly about death, so it helps to have characters who like live very little. The book is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is not about that. It's mostly about empathy.
Empathy, yes.
So they don't for narrative purposes, they don't have to die so quickly.
Well, the point is I don't remember.
They come back to Earth just because they think they have the right to live among humans, normal lives. That's why they come back. They are kind of like freed slaves, and they just want to reclaim the territory because they see themselves just as human.
Yes.
So that's why they come back. They don't come back like in a movie to live longer, which backfires in the movie, as you know. Okay. I just like especially the Mercer thing is a waste in the movie, so it's not there, because I really love in the book they mention like there is a resistance of replicants. They're androids in the book, by the way, not replicants. Like they call themselves androids, and they eventually like show on TV that Mercer is a hoax, like it's not real. It's just a TV production, like just a con job, and like, but I think like I think Deckard tracks down the Mercer in the book, and the guy who plays him, and asks him, "Hey, are you a hoax?" And he's like, "Yeah, but on the other hand, isn't that nice? Like that there is a religion that tells you everyone to be nice to each other." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, you can go on doing what you're doing." And then later in the book, he sees an illusion of Mercer, which is kind of like him losing his mind. Is he Deckard in the book? I don't know. I still don't think his name is Deckard in the book. But I'm not
Let's
sure.
call him Deckard to avoid...
For the sake of simplicity,
yes.
Clarity. Which we won't have to do much longer, but because I think we can move on to sequel if we don't have anything else to say about the movie.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Let's proceed to the sequel.
Yeah, the sequel. We... First of all, backstory. Blade Runner sequel was in talks for a long time because Ridley Scott just went full Lucas on us in attempts to just rewrite and destroy his own cinematic legacy. He makes alien movies. He makes like...
I think Lucas had beat him.
But Ridley Scott is not done yet.
Okay.
Like, he gave him a chance. There are 6 more Alien movies on the way. 6 more. Like, I think he plans to do much more with Blade Runner, which maybe won't happen now because the movie flops, which I will come back to later. But yeah, like, at first, from the start, I thought it was a terrible idea. Like, Blade Runner is one of those movies that it's finished, and it's also like its own thing. Like, it never happened before. It wasn't successful this time. It will never happen again. So I was like, to make a sequel would be a terrible mistake. So I was against the idea from the start. But then they announced that Ridley Scott is not going to make it. And I was like, okay. And then they announced that Denis Villeneuve will be the director. And for those who don't know, Denis Villeneuve is a really good director. He made Arrival, Prisoners, Sicario, all great movies. He's a really great director, so I was kind of like, yeah, that's really good. Like,
that could make sense.
Biggest part of his biggest thing is that all his movies are kind of like sound like just tired, old, same stories, but he makes them work. He finds something in them that makes just those potentially boring ideas into like masterpieces. So Blade Runner sequel is like the worst idea, so he was the perfect man for the job to fix it, kinda. So I was interested from that moment. The only way it could be better, like if they got, for me just personally, if they got Bong Joon-ho to direct it. Like if you ever asked me, like what director would I like to make this movie, that movie, I will always answer Bong Joon-ho, because Bong Joon-ho is my favorite director right now, and I think he can make any movie, and it will be great. But yeah, so he got on board. Then he got on board with the Roger Deakins, cinematographer, who shot Skyfall and some of his movies. Roger Deakins is like one of the best cinematographers ever right now. So like, for that was like, okay, I'm ready.
I'm totally in it.
Yeah, I'm on board. Great, like because it's all about visuals. So like, get the best man for the job, and Roger Deakins would be perfect.
And then promo shots started to leak.
Not just for that, and then also they announced that the Hampton Fancher is a screenwriter, and Hampton Fancher is the guy who originally came up with an idea of Blade Runner, and he wrote like many drafts of it until Ridley Scott fired him. And just from everything I heard, he was the smarter man in this whole situation. I think, as far as I'm concerned, he is the father of Blade Runner because he wrote the script. He was against the whole Deckard a replicant thing. He was against the love scene, this love storyline between Deckard and Rachel. So from everything, he sounded like the smartest man who worked on that movie.
Wise, really wise man.
Yeah, and they got him back for the sequel. So I was like, yeah, great. It's gonna like I was just so sure it's gonna be good from that point on. And yeah, like they started showing trailers. It looked pretty good. So now we finally saw it. Just this. So yeah, we both watched it, and now we're here to talk about it. 41 minutes in. Great timing, guys.
Yes.
So do we like want to go like first of all, the movie, like the company that made the movie for Warner Brothers, made a great job of just avoiding any possible spoilers. Like went into that movie just not knowing anything about the plot.
We only knew that Ryan Gosling will fight Harrison Ford.
Kinda, yeah.
Kinda, yes.
So for first several minutes of this discussion, I want to.
And Jared Leto would be a dick.
Yeah, and not a Philip K. Dick, unfortunately.
Yes, that was a pun.
I think it's like a reverse pun, but it's a nub.
Okay, come on.
But so for the first several minutes, we will try to be totally spoiler free, which means we can't talk about anything in the plot, pretty much.
Yes.
So now we can talk about what did you think about Blade Runner 2049?
Well, this time I could make more sense from the plot.
Well, because it wasn't a Russian translation.
Yes, because
Russian
yeah, it
translation.
was this time. It was translated to the Ukrainian, the perfect Ukrainian. No, the point is not that. The whole plot is made better than in original movie. It has a start point, some peripetties, some key points, and decision point.
It is like a proper detective this time story.
Yes, it looks like a proper detective.
The previous movie kind of like failed in that regard. It was a bad detective story.
Yes, when clues just fall on detective's head, I dislike it. I had written about 20 or so detective stories for television, and I used every possible scheme, and I just hate when clues just fall on the detective's head. Yes, conveniently. When randomly, suddenly, detective finds something that helps him. It's disgusting. I used it only once when it was based on a real
case,
a real life case. And I made a special point of how random can help a detective. I made a comedy point from it. I lampshaded it. But when you are not writing a TV series, and a single detective story, you don't have. Well, you shouldn't use this trick.
Yeah,
to help you. And they didn't use this trick. They were perfect.
The first movie, Blade Runner original, it kind of had a couple of moments where just clues fell on Deckard's head. and
replicants fell on him.
yeah, basically, sequel, there is like proper like from the start we get like one detail and that detail like to the next
Oh,
one.
last time
and
when last time we saw that lame move was Kingsman 2.
oh yeah, like
when they
when the villain of the movie
just made the
announces,
move only to make things better for protagonists.
yeah, she announces her plans like to the whole world just when our characters are basically like in a dead end in terms
Yes.
of the investigation, which is a conversation for another time. Like I don't know. I wish I could do like a regular episode earlier, a couple of weeks ago, so I could talk about Kingsman.
Okay, I only wanted to say that we had recently saw a blockbuster with the lame plot
Yeah,
like this.
which isn't surprising because most blockbusters are lame. Yep. Okay. So what else? What else? Blade Runner.
Yeah, Blade Runner.
Second one.
Good detective plot. Yes, good characters. Because I remember when I first saw the first movie, I was I don't feel any touch to Deckard.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I
my
didn't
problem
feel.
too. Yeah.
Because he was just like some guy who kills replicants. They look mostly like human beings because, and so he kills humans. Okay, I saw, on the screen I saw the guy killing humans.
I mean, yeah, like that's how we're supposed to.
And
read.
that's how he makes living. He's a hired killer, nothing more. And
I mean, especially bad now because he's basically, if you view it through modern lens, he's a cop who shoots people
He's
without
ex-cop.
persecution.
ex-cop.
No, he is a cop. Like, I mean, they bring him back into line of duty, so that.
Ah,
makes
no,
him a
you
cop.
talk about not about Deckard. Okay,
No, Deckard.
Deckard.
He is a cop.
He,
Blade Runner is a police force, just a special unit of police.
Well, but when this morning when I tried to rewatch the movie, it was clearly said that he is ex-cop. That
Yeah, he's an ex-cop, and then he brings him back at the very start. So that makes him not an ex-cop, a normal cop.
Okay, it's only said that he left just regular police force to become a Blade Runner, so to kill people for money.
Blade Runner is still cop. Yeah, I'm just saying it's a part of police.
Yes, but he's a killing cop. He's not arresting and judging.
Well, in America, every cop is a killing cop. I'm sorry, everyone.
He's mandatory killing cop.
Tell the cops in America that it's not mandatory. They didn't get the memo.
Okay, to hell with that. I only wanted to say I didn't like the guy who walks here and there, shoots his gun and kills women. Kills women. It's women who he started from. Yes?
Yeah.
So, when we see Ryan Gosling's Kay, his character, spoilers ahoy.
No,
No?
it's too early. We will move into spoilers later, but now we talk in general.
Okay, we know he... spoilers. No. Okay, he's just looking good. He's Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
He doesn't want spoilers, so I cannot explain anything.
Yeah, you can. So, you want to just move into spoilers, then I will just quickly speak my mind.
Okay,
here.
come on.
The first time, my first impressions were I didn't know what I thought about the movie. It was technically perfect.
Yeah.
Like, this and Fury Road are like the modern standards for movies for me. Everything in terms of like how they're shot, sound editing, where the music plays, just acting, works with like sets, costumes, flawless, just flawless. Like it's a technical masterpiece, just like the first movie, but like
No, it's
for
like
modern times.
Lawrence of Arabia.
Kind of like it's a more in terms of like camera work, it's more minimalist. Like it's not as crowded, it's not as like packed with stuff as the first movie. In terms of like how it's shot, like it's simpler frames, but they are so effective. with
Yes.
the composition.
I mean, it's just like with Lawrence of Arabia. You can take any random
Shot. Yeah.
any random shot,
And it's perfect.
frame it, and put it on the wall like a great picture.
Yeah.
Any random shot.
The story was good, the performances were great, but I didn't know if I liked it actually because I felt miserable watching it. And when I came out, I was kind of shaking, and I tweeted out that I will quote myself here that all I wanted to do was go back home, climb under my bed, no, climb on my bed, wrap myself up, cry. I wanted just to go back home, get into my bed and cry forever. Because that movie scared the shit out of me. And that's kind of like what a reaction I'm not having the first time watching a Denis Villeneuve film. I watched Sicario in movie cinema, and when I got back from that, I was also shaking because I was like, shit, war on drugs in Mexico is like terrible. And now, and I got back from this, I'm going, shit, future is terrible.
You know, man, you were not hardened by Tarkovsky's Stalker or by Dead Man's Letter, Lopushansky's, by depressive Soviet movies of late perestroika era.
I watched Stalker. This was more depressing than Stalker. In Stalker, at least the guy comes back home and there is his family. This is a movie about how everything is gonna be awful in Blade Runner. I mean, Blade Runner 2049. 2049, I should say that.
Well, but in the Blade Runner...
Like, the original was sad too. It wasn't like sad. But there was like a baseline of hope and comfort. This second movie felt completely hopeless. In a good way. Like, I liked it. I liked that feeling.
Let's agree to disagree, because I think otherwise. The first film was hopeless. The only option the characters have, Rachel and Deckard, to run and hide. But in the second movie, we fell into spoilers again.
Well, yeah, let's come back to when we talk about spoilers. So initially I didn't know if I liked it, I just knew it made me feel things. But the more I thought about it, the more I liked it, and in the end, I can confirm that I love it. It's not perfect, once again, I have problems, I have issues with it. But in terms of just craft and level of skill put into it and love, this was my favorite movie of the year so far.
Good Japanese.
I'm not no judge.
正しい日本語が好きですね.
She just called me an asshole, right?
No, I told that right Japanese is... I like the proper Japanese when I hear it.
Okay. So yeah, in the end, I love it. I'm sorry. Before I'm not sure if I can recommend it, honestly. Like, because I said, in my opinion, it's depressing. Like, it's great. It's a great movie, but I'm not sure if you would want to see it. Like, it will wreck your shit. I think if you're like me. So I'm just advising to be cautious.
It's like Passion of the Christ, but for science fiction.
And good, yeah, it's
geeks.
like Passion of the Christ, but good.
In a good way.
Yeah, I don't think Passion of the Christ is a good movie.
Okay. So much for not being a Catholic. Well, so let's plunge into spoilers.
I've seen things you people wouldn't even believe. Gandalf falling into the pits of Moria. Batman and Superman stopping their fight because their mothers have the same name. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in the rain. Time to do spoilers.
Yeah.
As you said, as I have already said.
Spoilers from now on.
Spoilers
Go.
ahoy.
Go.
The first movie ended in light but a sad note because, as I said, characters have no other option than to run and hide. But in the second movie, there is all this plot with androidic Messiah, a child of Rachel and Deckard, which inspires only knowing that the child exists inspires android to resistance. And the very fact that resistance exists is a ray of hope for me.
Kinda, yeah. I get where you're coming from, and I agree that like the ending of second movie is hopeful, and the movie kind of gets to this point. Like, yeah, if you will compare, there is actually a nice parallel in terms of tone. First movie starts sad and gets sadder as it progresses. Second movie starts also like just miserable, continues being miserable, and gets hopeful at the very end.
Yes.
But okay, first of all, I'm just, for me, the author is dead. So, for me, this happy ending from theatrical cut of Blade Runner was always canon, technically. When Rachel and Deckard run away, I always imagined that for at least some time, they are there, like, in this car, riding into the sunset, and it's beautiful, and it's, for some time, it's good. That's how I imagined it. Second movie, and if you like talk about perspectives of the characters, first movie was mostly about the perspective of Roy and how he dies. And when he dies, he kind of like accepts his mortality and how that his life was good in the end. He appreciated it, and that's the hopeful moment I always like. That always carried me in the end of Blade Runner original. Second movie is about Officer K learning that he's basically a tool, and the only nice thing he can do in his life is help somebody else have their happy ending, not his. Like, that's how just I felt it. And now that we're in spoilers, we can like talk about Officer K and stuff, because that was the first big shocker for me. The very first plot thing that we found out is that Officer K, played by Ryan Gosling, is
An android.
a replicant.
A
Yeah, a new model of replicant. The ones that are obedient and cooler and stronger.
Yes, they know that they're replicants. They are taught of their purpose.
Yeah, there is no ambiguity there.
Yeah, there's no ambiguity. And he, that's why I think him more sympathetic than Deckard, because Deckard was a human and he chosen to be a replicant killer, but K is programmed from the very start. He had no choice, and when he finally makes his choice, it's his redemption, it's his arc. When Deckard makes his choice, it is very spoiled by the fact that Rachel is a woman, that she is pretty,
Yeah.
and obedient,
quiet.
yes, ideal woman, perfect woman, and he falls for her because he's like, okay, so stereotypical man, stereotypical macho from noir detectives.
Yeah, there is like no chemistry between them. It's the most hacked on, pointless love story you could have in such a movie.
Yes, they are like designed for this love story.
And that's another thing I liked way more in the book, because Rachel seduces him there and she's like a total femme fatale. Like, it's still a sexist trope, of course, but she has way more agency, and she's not his property basically in the end. Like,
Yes.
she's cool, she's interesting there.
My friend, very clever woman, she compares this plot evolvement
Mm-hmm. It's a lot.
Plot involvement.
Progression, let's say progression.
Plot progression to sentimental novels where white master falls in love with black or rather blackish slave and runs to Europe with her, where he can be human, not a slave.
Yeah.
But still he's obedient and
It's
pretty
a
white.
white power fantasy.
Yes, it's
essentially.
white power fantasy.
Except it's more like... Okay.
So it's man power fantasy, no?
It's like, it's so many things. I would say there is a lot of stuff in there. Most problematic for me is just a nerd sci-fi fantasy of having a gynoid robot wife. Gynoid. Well, I think it's gynoid, but I'm not sure. Female robot.
We both suck in English, you know. Female
No,
robot. No?
I disagree with that statement.
Let's agree to disagree. Okay. That's.
I will just cut it out and I will find places where you agree with me and I will put.
I will always sing this song. Let's agree to disagree. Okay. Now, as far as I know, some people construct female robots to have sex with, and they even have built-in frigid mode for men to play rape. It's so fucking close to this scenario.
Yeah, but like there is good news. Those robots can be programmed to kill their masters.
Yes, and
Guys,
very much. I almost didn't like Rachel. I almost didn't remember her, but I remembered two other female robot characters that kicked asses.
Yeah.
And I liked the moment when they kicked Descartes' ass.
Yeah.
And in the new film, we see that future sucks. Still, it sucks for women because though Kay is an oppressed, enslaved robot killer, still he have someone obedient and more oppressed and more brainwashed to the point of not having brain at all. And it's a woman. It's that perfect virtual girl joy.
Yeah, but like in the movie's defense, I finally think it's like a misogynistic world, but not misogynistic work. The first movie was definitely a misogynistic work.
Yes,
because
it was.
We didn't talk about it, but the first love scene, I'm doing finger quotes here, is pretty much a rape in the first movie. And I'm glad we're finally talking about it. Everyone talks about like how it should have ended, made a joke about it on the trailers, commented on it, like and a couple of other people. Finally, everyone acknowledges that this is one thing in the first movie that's totally fucked up and inexcusable, and everyone should feel bad for themselves.
I would like Rachel to kick Descartes' ass in that moment.
But yeah, nothing. Just like if you're like worried, and I was definitely when I went to see the sequel. Nothing anywhere as bad happens in the sequel, which is nice.
Yes.
Like women have quite nice positions there. Like they're pretty much half of the cast are women, and they like have positions in power. They kick ass.
Kay's chief is woman.
Kay's chief
Robin
is woman.
Wright.
Robin
She's
Wright.
Totally. I cannot find words. She's awesome. She's totally awesome. That moment when that bad android girl tries to torture her for information about Rachel's child, and
it's not about Rachel's child. It's about Kay.
It's about Kay,
and she's looking for Kay.
Crushes her
arm,
her hand with glass in it.
Yeah.
And still, she doesn't even mourn.
She doesn't lose her cool.
Yeah, she doesn't lose her cool, and he is just like, fuck off.
Yeah.
and prefer death to talking. She's Amazon Queen.
Well, she wasn't a queen there.
She wasn't a queen.
No, she was like
Yes,
a lady who,
she was a war lady.
yeah, who died, which made me sad.
She died again. She's a female Sean Bean.
No, she's alive in many things.
Okay.
Too.
Joke failed. So in this sense, new movie is way better.
Like far from perfect, but we're getting there. It's baby steps.
Yes, baby steps, but in the right direction. And when we see his Kay's relationship with Joy, he tries to make her more real.
Yeah.
Not to make her more fuckable, but to make her more human.
Mm.
And it's very touching when he gets his prize for killing
Dave Bautista.
Dave
Dave
Bautista.
Bautista.
Morton. How was his name?
I don't remember. I call him Dave Bautista.
Okay, Dave Bautista.
Let's imagine that in the future
Android medic.
Let's imagine that somebody made a Dave Bautista bot
A
and
replicant,
he just kills him.
medic. Yes, he killed him and have his prize. The first thing he does, he
buy her an emitter.
Yes, he buys her an emitter, which gives her more freedom.
Yeah.
A freedom to leave his living place, his apartment.
Yeah.
Which eventually kills her in some point, but still.
Is killing though.
Yeah, she's sacrificial doll.
She was kind of like my least favorite part probably of the whole movie, and she wasn't bad to her credit. Like she was just least good thing. Like I just didn't care much for this love story, which I'm not sure if that was the intention. Like, was I supposed to not care that much because she is bland? Like, she is intentionally bland.
My impression is that Joy is a pet the dog moment for Kay, and when she fulfills this purpose, she outlived her
Purpose.
Yes, and that's why they killed her outright in the end.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I didn't care much for it.
Okay, well, because it's natural. We don't care much for petted dogs, mostly when we see the film.
I do.
Okay.
What kind of monster are you?
I am your mother.
You don't care for dogs.
I eat them.
Podcast over. Bye.
Okay, let's proceed. Let's go. What else?
I mean, we were talking about plot and female representation. I wanted to go back to the moment that Officer K is a replicant because that's what we find out in the very first few minutes, and that was just kind of like what just blew my mind because I was like, wow, I didn't know it from any trailers, any press coverage of the movie. Good job, like, on keeping the spoilers, it's spoiler free, because it was kind of a surprise, and it's generally like, again, parallels. Like, if the first movie kinda was about a guy who finds that maybe replicants are human after all, this is about replicant finding his own humanity in a way.
Yes, and there is a moment when he firmly decides that he is firmly convinced that he is human.
Yeah, and another thing I thought about when you said that you didn't care for Deckard in the first movie, because Deckard is a fairly passive character. He's thrown into this situation, and he never really acts in any act of defiance that would like help us feel for him. Officer K constantly makes decisions.
He doesn't have his pet the dog moment, his save the cat moment. It's Roy Batty who saved the cat.
Not just necessarily save the cat, just any indication that he has a character. He's not just there to obey those orders. Because in the second movie, Officer K constantly makes decisions. He constantly acts on information he gets, the way he thinks he's supposed to act, the way he perceives justice.
Yes.
And that's good. That's an active character, and like I said, it's a better detective. It's better in terms of its female characters, which kind of like in addition to its technical perfection, guide jumps me to an unexpected conclusion. For me, I think the sequel is better than the first movie.
Why not?
Yeah, and it's just like I'm saying that is as a person who really loves the first movie, and yeah, I was shocked, but second movie is better in almost every way. Like it takes what was good there, like this atmosphere, this work with like this world, the minimal characters. And
One thing I say is worse. The
What?
music. They take this sound. And take it up to the 11. It was exhausting for me. It was the most exhausting moment during all the time I watched the movie.
I don't know. I liked it.
Okay.
It's let's agree to disagree.
Yes.
It's my fucking turn to do this silly thing.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, it's better than. It was different in terms of like the music. First movie kind of like was nicer. At first, I kind of like thought that like I didn't like the music too, but it grew on me. I felt like the atmosphere is different and more oppressive, and it makes sense for the soundtrack to get as dark as oppressive. I generally don't like it's Hans Zimmer, one of the composers is Hans Zimmer, and his approach is generally
And so you say the atmosphere is depressive, so music
depressing.
and music should be depressing.
Not depressing, like oppressive. That's how it felt.
Overwhelming.
Yeah, overwhelming. That's a good word. The sound mixing was off. Yeah, it was too loud. I agree. Just if it was quieter, it would be better. Like it would still get an idea across.
Yes, but this is IMAX, so they take everything up to 11.
No, I think it's a movie problem because we saw. I didn't have that problem in IMAX before, and I saw like at least 3 movies in IMAX before.
Well, maybe that was just a sound master.
Sound mixing, yeah, sound mixing.
fuck up.
Not fuck up, like just a bad creative decision. The thing I kind of wanted to point out is that just most characters, just how they're used in plot, are handled better. Like in the first movie, androids, replicants. Replicants are pretty interesting, but only one of them, basically Roy, serves a purpose. Others are there just to get killed and make their cartel. They're tools.
Yes.
This movie kind of like was better. Like very first android gets killed, played by Dave Bautista. This is just an introduction to our Officer K. And by the way, that's a scene from original Blade Runner from storyboards that wasn't used in the end. They copied it for this movie, which was a really nice thing that I, as a fan, enjoyed. But he was like, even he like, his death wasn't just there to introduce K. He also launches the plot, the main plot, like gives him clues, and
says very, very important phrase about you didn't see the miracle.
he kickstarts the main conflict inside of K.
Yes.
So he serves a bigger purpose, and it's good. And it's good with it works. Same thing with everyone, except for Luv at the very end. Luv is an like angry, evil android lady who works for Jared Leto, who, by the way, for the first time is pretty good in something.
And you know, that's where being Catholic is useful starts. He's like Saint Joseph of the story. If it's Messianic story, and Descartes is like father god who fathered the Christ,
Mm-hmm.
Messiah. The girl Stellis. How was the name? Okay,
I don't remember.
so much for her. Well, she's pretty much MacGuffin.
Who?
The girl, the Messiah.
She has.
The dream weaver.
I wouldn't decide. I wouldn't describe her that. I think she is okay, like in terms of how.
Well,
Like she's not just a thing for the plot.
Okay,
She's a character, I think.
but still we don't remember her name, which is sad.
I'm just bad at names with names in general. This movie had a lot of characters. I'm not like equipped to remember all of them.
Well, its movie doesn't have a lot of characters like Lord of the Rings, but still.
We had 3 Lord of the Rings movies to remember all the names, and we have 1 Blade Runner.
Point taken. Okay, so he's like Saint Joseph of the story, and Saint Joseph is not a little character in Bible. These parallels are very clear. The dry tree, like fruitless fig tree in Gospel, and the missed bones, Rachel, of course, a biblical parallel to Rachel and Leah, another parallel with Jacob and Esau. How it is
Isaac.
Isaac. No, Isaac is a
Oh,
son.
I'm sorry.
A son, and Esau is a brother of Jacob.
I don't know.
Okay.
I failed my theology classes.
Well, and love is like that not beloved son who wants to be loved.
Kinda, yeah, but in terms of plot, she's still essentially there just to have for Kay to fight someone. That's my problem. She doesn't have like a tears in the rain moment of relevance to the
Kay
plot.
has them. Kay has this moment when he dies on the stairs.
Yeah, I'm just upset. I wanted something more with her. For the movie that uses
Yes,
all of its characters perfectly, it was just a small step down there that she was just a final boss for him.
I cannot stop thinking of making Kay a female character and how it would serve the plot.
Kinda. I'm not sure.
And then the other parallels, it's that wooden horse, and that this wooden horse and that origami unicorn. And origami unicorn was like very loose clue to the fact that Deckard may be or may not be a replicant, but the wooden horse is a perfect clue for Kay to.
Yeah.
And it's not the perfect clue for him to know, to excavate the truth, but a perfect clue for him to.
Put the pieces together.
No.
No? Confuse him?
Yes, to be confused.
Yeah.
First, this horse confuses him. Only after that, when he was told.
Yeah. For horses are confusing. I am a horse and I find it confusing every day.
And again, biblical parallel, he is like John the Baptist. He professes the coming of Messiah. He is mistaken for Messiah in some point, but he...
But only by himself, essentially.
Yes, but he voluntarily rejects it, and he dies in the end to serve the Messiah, to serve this point.
Kinda, yeah. Okay, that's deep.
Yes, that's it. As I said, when being Catholic is useful.
Which, by the way, I want to just briefly come back. The movie doesn't almost comment anywhere on Deckard being a replicant, which thank God. Like
Yes.
they add there is a line, a throwaway line from Jared Leto, who like just to keep this ambiguity, he says something like,
I don't care.
yes, like something about it, but they never like commented. It's pretty much irrelevant to the story, which is good, and I'm glad. And the movie is good, and I liked it, and that's the end. And I don't know what else to say about it.
And again...
Conclusions.
Humans suck.
I agree. I'm a horse.
And I'm a dragon.
Let's kill him.
Kill all men.
Kill humans.
I'll kill all humans. All men must die. Luckily, we are not men.
Indeed.
Okay, but jokes aside, the movie is in visual part. It's chef-d'oeuvre, like masterpiece, real masterpiece, and it will take its place in the pantheon. Despite that people are mostly morons, and box office shows it.
Yeah.
Really shows it
Yeah,
clearly.
it's recent news are box office is bad. This movie it flops. Like it made 12 million at its opening in US. And for those who don't know, like first like opening and first week are the most crucial ones. And if you like don't at least get back all the money, all the budget, then
Save the movie. Go to the cinema. Watch it
it.
in the theater.
I won't like force people because it's not for everyone. And I think it's kind of like just a perfect addition to the fact that it is a Blade Runner sequel, that neither the first movie or the second one will be successful in the end. Like that's perfect. Nobody who worked on it will like lose a career over this. No, like Denis Villeneuve will make a million movies more, like he will make Dune now. Roger Deakins will make a million movies. Everyone will have a job after this, so I wouldn't worry about it flopping. I really wanted to win some awards, and that's the saddest thing that I want, especially the award for cinematography.
Yes, this movie will be a landmark.
And there is a problem with that because for 3 years straight, Roger Deakins was nominated for Best Cinematographer, and all 3 years the award went to Manuel Lubezki.
If he doesn't win now, I think it's the greatest fuck up from the Academy since time Peter O'Toole didn't get it for Lawrence Beckett or Winter Lion.
There is a problem, yeah. There is a new movie shot by Emmanuel Lubezki called Song to Song, which isn't all that great. Like it isn't all that visually great. So I hope it won't win, but it would be really funny in a bad way if it does. Just because Emmanuel Lubezki, it will be forced Oscar for them. He wipes his ass with them at this point, probably.
And they totally deserve it.
They deserve a lot of bad things. I hate the Academy, but I still make it relevant by paying attention to them, so
Okay.
paradox. Yeah, I hope it like wins like all the awards, but it's also sci-fi, which are like not popular with Academy, so probably not. I wouldn't like hold my breath for it.
Okay, if you want to see a mind-blowing action movie, then Blade Runner
not an action.
2049
2049.
is certainly not for you.
Okay,
Just
yeah.
save your money and remain home, drink beer, rewatch True Lies, or something like that.
Another movie that respects women a lot.
Yes, and if you are a cinema geek, real screen junkie that values good camera work, good plot, and you were in your childhood beaten by Tarkovsky and
Develop.
develop the resistance to being bored by long shots and long sequences and a huge pile of symbols. And if you are educated, or maybe just Catholic, or maybe just very many Bible reading Protestant, I don't exclude the point, so this movie is totally for you. You have to have passion. It takes patience, mind and heart to perceive it, to watch it.
Yeah, and I recommend it too, but I said enough praise already, so we'll probably wrap out now. Goodbye, everyone. Stay funky.